Who would have thought a charred roasted cauliflower could get so famous? But this one, from Miznon in Tel Aviv, is now served in London, Paris, Vienna, Singapore, New York, LA, Las Vegas, and Melbourne, Australia. It's the creation of eccentric Israeli chef Eyal Shani, who built a reputation around making vegetables taste like magic. And not surprisingly, this cauliflower became a huge hit for the casual restaurant. Now, I'm not saying skip their fluffy pita sandwiches, they're amazing. But in Tel Aviv, people lined up just to get their own cauliflower to go. I know because I was one of them. Here's how to make it at home without burning the house down. Let's talk cauliflower. They come in all sorts of sizes and colors, like these beautiful white and purple ones, and they even come in yellow and green. Now these are on the hefty side, which is perfect if you're feeding a family of 4 or 5. At the restaurant Miznon, they usually sell smaller ones, ideal for individuals. So if you got it in you to prep 4 small ones for a dinner party, I say do it, but honestly, the larger heads work well if you're sharing. Start by trimming the base, but leave the core intact. It helps hold everything together. And feel free to cut off the surrounding leaves if you want. The only reason to keep some of the smaller ones is just for looks when serving, because the bigger ones will basically burn in the oven. Give the cauliflower a quick wash if you need to. I didn't, but I did make a little cut across the top and even poked some holes in the bottom to help penetrate the thick exterior when boiling. Speaking of which, fill up a big pot or Dutch oven with water. I want to say I know that you could probably toss a whole cauliflower into the oven without boiling, but what I think Eyal Shani is doing at Miznon is taking that little extra step, as most fancy restaurants do, to make a tender and almost melt in your mouth delicious vegetable. Add a palmful of salt, about 3 or 4 tablespoons. If it feels like a lot, just remember, much of what's in the water doesn't get absorbed into the cauliflower, but it does help flavor the vegetable. Then, lower the head of cauliflower into the pot, and if you can put something to keep it from floating up, do it and cover it. Then, let it boil for about 7 to 10 minutes. It all depends on the size of the cauliflower, but I will say err on the side of keeping it intact. You aren't cooking it all the way through, just softening the inside so that the oven can do the rest. At the 7 or 8 minute mark, start testing it with a fork. It should go in soft but with a little resistance. Don't get it too soft, it could turn into mush. While it boils, feel free to flip it over to make sure that you're getting an even boiling. Once that's done, drain the water out or just lift the cauliflower out carefully with 2 forks onto a towel to air dry. If you put a cauliflower that is too wet into the oven, you'll just continue to steam it, and I do suggest gently patting it dry with a clean kitchen towel and letting it sit out for at least 15 to 30 minutes. While that rests, set your oven to as high as it will go. Mine went to 550 Fahrenheit. Don't worry, I told you we won't burn down the house, but I found getting it into a hot oven and then lowering the heat works the best. Can I get sidetracked by cauliflower for a second? I recently went vegetable picking at a local farm, Underwood Farms, and we picked these massive cauliflowers you see in this video that were just surrounded by these even bigger leaves. It was so interesting that we decided to pluck and eat these tightly packed, undeveloped flower buds, but we do, which is so cool. When you cook them right, they turn into this tender and crispy, amazing side dish. One of the things I love about roasting cauliflower is just how beautiful it can be. I always thought yellow and white ones would look the best, but I recently boiled and roasted a purple one and it still looked fantastic. As a side note, the boiled bluish purple water is rich in anthocyanins and you can use it to dye rice naturally or turn yellow lemonade pink. It's wild stuff. Okay, so while the oven is heating, we can make the tahini drizzle sauce. This adds a real earthy, creamy dipping sauce you can slather all over the top. Add 3 tablespoons of tahini, the juice of half a lemon. I would suggest the Mayor's lemon, which is a touch sweeter than a regular lemon, but use what you got. Then 1 clove of garlic. Now, this one's really pathetic and it's all I have, so I'm sorry to all my garlic fiends out there, but I am going to add some garlic powder. And I just think fresh garlic is just one of those things I have to keep in stock. For shame, Alex. Anyway, 1 tablespoon of olive oil and a good pinch of salt, and then start to mix that up. Don't worry if it feels clumpy. Just wait, this is where the magic happens with tahini. Now, this may feel or seem counterintuitive, but you will need ice cold water. And you will add 1 tablespoon at a time of cold water into the tahini. Trust me, I know you'll want to add warm or hot water to loosen it up, but for some reason, cold water works better. And you will add this cold water and it will seize up and get gritty and you'll have doubts, but I need you to trust the process. Keep adding a tablespoon of cold water at a time and mix after every single one. You will see the tahini will relax and it will start to go smooth and become more viscous or more liquidy. Once you get to that stage, pat yourself on the back for trusting the process and taste it. And I'm adding more salt, more garlic powder, and a small squeeze of lemon to adjust the flavor. And I get back to mixing it up until it's ready. But why stop there with just the tahini? I'm gonna chop up some pistachios. Any nut will do. Pine nuts, pecans, and almonds are options, but pistachios bring a really vibrant green color, and I'm making a chiffonade with the mint, which just means I'm stacking up the leaves like paper, rolling it like a cigar, and chopping it into threads to sprinkle on top. But a rough chop to both the nuts and herbs also work. And now you have your toppings. If you want to go that extra step, consider getting some pomegranate seeds or arils and topping it with that, or even pesto, pine nuts, and pomegranate seeds like the roasted cauliflower from Fat Pasha in Toronto. That is a photo I took many years ago, and that has stayed with me in my food dreams since. Okay then, by now the oven should be ready. Take the cauliflower and place it on an oven tray. Sprinkle some kosher salt all over the top, and I want you to generously pour oil on the top and cover the cauliflower with it. I would strongly recommend using your hands. Get sensual, I'm not judging. And go for a second round of oil. While I would say that you don't want to drown it in oil, you do want to be generous. It's the oil that helps develop that color and char. Once you've completely made an oily mess, be sure to wash your hands and take the tray and pop it into that hot oven, and once the cauliflower is in, drop the temperature to 475 Fahrenheit and let it get hit with all that heat for 40 minutes in total. Dropping the temperature prevents my smoke alarm from going off at that higher heat, so that's why I prefer this method. And while some recipes will tell you can get it done in 25 to 30 minutes, I prefer how the color develops in 40 minutes. What you will see after 20 minutes in some cases is very little char being developed, and that's okay, don't be dismayed. It all starts to take place in the second half of the bake. This is what it looks like after 40 minutes. If you want a little more char on top, this is where I say cut the oven and broil it on high for 2 minutes, but keep an eye on it. Remember, it's topped with oil and it will burn quickly, but look at that beauty. Now, after you admire it, I'd suggest sprinkling on a little flaky salt if you plan to eat it as is, or you can top it off with that delicious tahini spread, and for a splash of beautiful color, those pistachios and mint. It's salty, tender, and weirdly satisfying on its own, meaning I can admit to polishing off one of these after I filmed it, or you can use it as a solo dinner dish if you're vegetarian or vegan or an omnivore like me. It's that good. Enjoy.